It is 9:07. And as per usual, for those of you who are new, I'm just going to run you through really quickly what we do here. So we begin with a guided meditation on Wednesdays for about 15 minutes. So I invite you at this time to go ahead and get comfortable and find a way to sit that is where you're kind of in this an upright and dignified place, so that you can kind of keep the energy flowing through you. You're not too cozied out, so you might fall asleep. Although that's fine too. If you're particularly tired, this can also be a sleeping meditation for you. But in general, it's nice to have the posture to be upright, to allow the flow of energy through the body. And I always like to begin with a single deep breath inward through the nose. And an exhale out through the mouth, just as a way to ground ourselves in the breathing body. And you can let your eyes close gently. And let your shoulders relax. Your neck be soft upon your shoulders. And if you're noticing any obvious tension in your body, see if you can take a deep breath into that area. And on the exhale, see if you can let it release. And with each breath, allowing yourself to come a little bit more deeply into the breathing body. Allowing yourself just to settle in and connect. Bringing your attention from the external world to the internal world. And allowing with each exhale, just all those thoughts to just sort of dissipate and disappear, knowing that in this moment, there's nothing that you need to figure out. There's nothing that you need to learn or get right. For once, there's nothing to manage or manipulate. We're simply coming together in conscious community with a space of curiosity and wonder about the magic of this breathing body. Allowing our awareness to expand, allowing our self-compassion to expand, allowing our loving kindness to expand. Simply breath in and breath out. And for this meditation, I'm going to invite you to just place your hand on your heart. And as we breathe together with eyes closed, just bring your awareness, your attention to breathing into that heart center. Again, with a sense of curiosity, sense of wonder. What's stirring in your heart right now, in this moment? And can you hold yourself in a state of kindness, patience, and love, no matter what's there in this moment? If it's calm and spaciousness, celebrate that. If there's a little anxiety, fear, uncertainty, just breathe into that space with that sense of loving kindness and compassion, and knowing that the earth beneath you is supporting you. This larger community is supporting you. And in meditation, we're just allowing things to be as they are. With that sense of loving kindness and self-compassion. Without the distraction of the external world, we can allow this love, this self-connection to expand, to radiate, to soothe. Simply breathing in and breathing out. Taking in that love, taking in that kindness. Allowing it to sift through the silence. Allow it to permeate the stillness. And after a few moments, you probably notice your mind wandering, drifting off into memory or anticipation. With the sound of my voice, bring your awareness, your attention back to the breathing body, back to that heart center. Taking a few breaths into the center of your experience. Checking back in with your heart space. What is the resonance now? And let us close this meditation with some words of loving kindness. Sending yourself whispers of compassion and sweetness. May I be well today. May I be at ease. May I be blessed in the light of loving kindness and compassion. Take a single deep breath inward through the nose, breathing that kindness into your body, and then exhaling, letting go. Ah. All right. Maybe take a minute just to open your eyes and to connect back to our virtual space. And I hope that was grounding and refreshing and connective. You know, sometimes meditation is like that. It is grounding and connective and loving and peaceful. And sometimes meditation is not that. Sometimes what's present is busy mind. Sometimes what's present is anxiety. Sometimes what's present is energy in the body. Sometimes what's present is grief and sadness. And this is okay. You know, this is practice. The question is, can we bring our full selves? Can we maintain that attention and that patience and that presence, even in those uncomfortable states, even in those uncomfortable moments? And the beautiful thing, you know, the reason they call it practice is that it's challenging sometimes, and that we do need to practice. And so in some ways, you never know what you're going to get, you know, when you fully pay attention. Because throughout our day, oftentimes we're on our phones and we're doing our work and we're, you know, fully immersed in the thinking mind. We're up here, you know, making it through our day, taking care of the housework, taking care of the kids, navigating relationships and family matters, etc. And this is all very necessary and very important. And yet our meditation practice, when we finally get quiet, we finally get still, sometimes what can come up is all the sort of busyness around that, the buzzing around that, the grief around that. But it's really powerful to hold ourselves in compassion and patience with that, you know, to take time to do that every day, if even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And just to place our hands on our hearts and to set that intention for loving kindness and sweetness and patience. And what this does over time is it gives us the experience of resilience, so that when the shit does hit the fan, which inevitably happens, that we have the capacity, we have that a little bit more spaciousness in our bodies and in our hearts, in our minds, to be with it. And again, I mean, one has to find out for themselves if this is true, right? This is what I've noticed in my own practice over the many years, is that there is resilience. And there's this potential for incredible transformation, right? Incredible transformation. There are such dramatic extremes in the human experience. You know, just in this week, I was speaking, as I mentioned, to Sarah Blondin. She's devoted herself to heart-mindedness and this heart practice, where she spends every day meditating on her heart and finding what's true in her heart and practicing loving kindness and writing into that. There's this really incredible devotional aspect to that. And then earlier in the week, I was speaking to a client who's working on a memoir project about a very dramatic childhood and young adulthood, and even partial adulthood, that involved a tremendous amount of trauma, sexual trauma, and self-harm, and abandonment, and pain, and reliving those patterns. You know, because we don't expect, you know, when we get into a certain pattern from childhood, we don't expect love. We don't expect patience. We don't expect compassion. Because all we've ever experienced is possibly violence, self-harm, neglect, abuse, etc. And so meditation is this really incredible opportunity to revision and to reassess and re-inspire our capacity to be in love, to connect with love, and know that we can be held, that there is this truth that is possible, and we can be held by the earth, we can be held by ourselves, even though at times it doesn't seem possible, right? But when we keep coming back to it, and we keep connecting in community like we have here, with our fellow beings who are on this journey of self-compassion, of creativity. And I think that's really the first creativity, is love is the first creativity. You know, that creative capacity to be compassionate and kind to ourselves. I know this is something that I have to practice all the time. I'm really good at doing it for other people. I love you all. I'm sending you blessings all the time. I'm doing compassionate practice all the time. And then I sort of forget about this guy. And it's like, oh yeah. And it's not a practice of self-absorption. It's not you know, navel gazing is not about disconnecting with the world. It's about setting that groundwork so that we can expand our capacity to be present for others, to be present in relationship, to be loving and kind in a world that is very difficult. But when we come from that premise that love is the ground of our being, that love is the truth, that holds all other truths as possibilities, then we can know that it's always a refuge, even in difficult times. And sometimes even, especially in difficult times, like it can show up even more because we're all kind of frightened together, you know? You could have like, for example, I just think about, you know, certain neighbors who you might have had like intense squabbles about, and like different political views and antagonism. And then there's a crisis, and all of a sudden they're bringing brownies to your door, or they're asking about your dog, you know, or do you have everything you need if there's an evacuation order, or, you know, this kind of thing. And we see this over and over again in crisis and difficult times. And yet at the same time, in crisis and difficult times, it's like there's amped up anxiety. Sometimes there's also amped up difficulty. But just knowing that we can always come back to this refuge that is our heart, I think is a powerful practice. And it seems so simple, but it's one that I think is often overlooked. And, you know, talking to Sarah this week was really just a really amazing reminder, and reading her book and just thinking like, oh yeah, I need to do more of that. You know, how would that change my life even more dramatically, to just every day check in with the heart, you know, and ask myself, how can I be more loving today in those, especially in those relationships that trigger me the most, the most intimate ones, right? The ones where there's the most contrast. I mean, we can take baby steps and start with, with the easier ones. But like practicing that and seeing what happens as sort of this like self-experiment, you know? And they can be very simple things like we did just now, you know, just bringing your awareness and your attention to your heart space and just breathing in, taking a few breaths. You know, even just that act of placing your hand on your heart is a call for attention and a call for kindness. And then just seeing how it tends to radiate out, and then and how even like that the world might shift around you. You know, people might change their resistances, their attitudes around you. You know, the world is always, it seems to be a reflection of who we are in any given moment, you know? So when we're exuberant and we're excited and we're bright, we're loving, the world seems loving and bright and exuberant. And when we're kind of freaked out and just like, ah, the world seems a little dark, right? And so it's up to us to kind of create that environment of loving kindness. And so that is our theme for the day. And I'm curious how you are practicing heart-mindedness, or not practicing heart-mindedness, or have in the past practiced heart-mindedness in your own life, and how it's affected maybe your relationships or even your creativity. You know, because it does tend to radiate out into everything that we do, right? That's the other beautiful thing about mindfulness and meditation. Mm-hmm. Looking at the time here, it is just about 9:55 a.m. So I think a little closing is in order. So let's sit again for just a moment here, just a minute or two, and sort of just take in all the different commentary. And there's been some really beautiful chat comments and some wonderful expressions from Laura and Letitia, and from Lisa and Karen and Audrey. And all of you, even if you have remained silent, just listening, I just want to acknowledge your presence and participation here. And I just want to honor you for showing up today. Because presence and sitting in silence, sitting in stillness is an act of courage. It may be a small act of courage, but being willing to face the sorrows of the heart, the joys of the heart, the curiosities of the heart. It's a courageous act. And so this week, take this practice of heart-mindedness, of loving kindness to the self, take it into the world. You know, beginning with yourself, but allowing that sense of love to radiate out in the world, that sense of presence. And may your week be filled with love and kindness and the practice of awareness. And may this intention, this time that we come together in conscious community every week, may it be of benefit to ourselves, to our families and our communities, to our countries, to people all throughout the world, and to all beings everywhere. So wherever you are, may you be safe this week. May you be filled with love. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate and love you all. And I thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully on Friday or at an upcoming event. Feel free to share this community, this Zoom link with anybody you know who would be interested in joining us. And yeah, till then, live well, love well, write well. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks, everybody.